Hello, excellent irony. Um, Extremely happy to be here in Tartu. I've been here most of my life, and most of my life I've been doing advanced stuff, mathematics, AI, machine learning, and so on. And this title, Google Sheets. So I don't know how it happened, but there is something in it, and I'll try to convey my message. So first, what I've done before, as I said, I was studying mathematics, bachelor's, master's in Manchester. I was doing my PhD in computer science department in computational neuroscience group, doing AI stuff and difficult advanced stuff. In there, I had a couple of hobby projects. In Estonia, maybe I'm famous for writing a book, Matemaatika õhtuõpik. And in the world, maybe the most famous part is that we replicated the DeepMind's original Atari playing AI as an open source project, and this got viral. And the team got a lot of fame and was able to join very many cool places, like to work with Elon Musk in OpenAI and in DeepMind and so on. And these things led me to very deep tech companies where we were doing very difficult advanced things. For example, I was the first employee in Starship Technologies when they came out of stealth mode. After they came out of stealth mode, that's my daughter. She was still riding these when they were legal to be ridden by humans, and now they are illegal. We are not allowed to transport humans anymore. And in there we were, of course, in the media and everywhere, and in reality as well, there were advanced piece of work. These things had like 35 processors in it. Like every type of advanced algorithm that we know was somehow used there with 100 engineers writing software into it. After 4 years, we made it like 1,000 times more autonomous and safer, and the company is doing very well, doing millions of deliveries. After that, I about 2.5 years ago, I co-founded Pactum with my brother Kasper and Martin Rand. And in there, we were again doing something which sounded impossible in the beginning, in a similar way how Starship Technologies sounded impossible in the beginning. We are doing autonomous commercial repetitive negotiations, doing autonomous negotiations. The product is rather can be explained in a rather simple way, how you can see on that slide, that we go in with our customer, we select what things are we trading in the contracts, what are their values, and then we set up an engine that can do negotiations. We send out the link to their thousands and hundreds of thousands of suppliers and vendors. They do the negotiation. If they reach to a deal, we automatically generate the contract and we update the data in our customers' databases. A lot of things there, a lot of cool things, a lot of mathematically cool things, sampling hundreds of thousands of contracts to find best counter offers, doing some machine learning to do limits and trade-offs, dynamic pricings, things changing previous negotiations, affecting new ones, inventing new languages to define these negotiations, and so on. So, and the core thing is that in startups, you're very time boxed or constrained. You need to move fast. You don't have time, especially if they are like heavy capital-wise, like Starship was, and if it's difficult to work with very large companies like we are working. And Starship is moving fast, and Pactum, it was like essential that we move fast. We need to be extremely quick. We started doing first real negotiations 2 months after founding the company. And we signed the largest company in the world half a year after founding the company. And these are our customers. I can only mention 3 of them. Maersk is also the largest logistics company. And we are doing negotiating a huge amount of negotiations every day on their behalf. These things are essential for the startup. Startup is defined by growing very quickly and being able to exponentially grow and having a large market or large opportunity. Having a large market and opportunity usually means that you're doing something new, something that hasn't been done before, something that is complex to define, that you don't fully understand what you're doing. You're usually creating a category that you don't have a good example of a competitor that is out there already, which is the case in both of the cases in Starship and Pactum. And you also need to move fast. If you don't, it doesn't work out. And you know, the exponential growth, if it grows, then it goes very large. And if it can grow to very large amounts, so the market must be large, then it's there. And usually, we only talk about these things that I just kind of briefly mentioned. And I've given tens or maybe even 100 talks about how robots see things and how we do mathematics and how we do machine learning and how we do AI. But how do you actually kind of combine it with this idea of moving extremely quickly in the case of high uncertainty that startups are by definition? And I think this is less like discussed and it's less cool, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it is crucial to like understand that this is actually as much of a core part of doing something new, to do simple things. And you're programmers, maybe at least half of you. You know this KISS word. It means keep it simple, stupid, or keep it stupid, simple. I don't know which way. Meaning that you should do trivial things. You should just not overthink, just solve it with the most simple solution, the quickest possible. And it is a common way how we do programming, but when we talk about companies, then we tend to think about these complex things and like being proud of that, oh, I was able to use deep neural networks. But in reality, you should be proud if you were able to solve it with Google spreadsheets. Basically, the main message in any project development, in every work, in everywhere, is that if you are confident enough, if the better you are, the less you are afraid to use the simplest technologies. And it takes courage to say it out, and I'm shivering at the moment because it's a bit strange. And as I said in the title, one example of this is Google Sheets. Simple but powerful. So what does it have, or what these kind of simple tools have? This is actually just one example to show the point. But if you're there in your small team, in a research group, Jan was just presenting, I don't know, maybe there are 5 people, 10 maximum. Like usually startup starts with 3 founders, then you will double the team to 6 people, then you double the team to 12. It's an extremely tiny amount of people. But there are so many things in your product that you need to configure, import data, do many things, and it needs many features that you need to develop all of them. For example, you will need to have history of changes. If you change configuration in your software, I don't mean code is in GitHub, in Git, but if you do changes in the configuration, that how your system behaves, what are some limits, what's going on. You want, if people are doing it, not programmers, if other people are doing it, you want to have a history of it. You need authentication and user groups. Some employees in your company must be able to change some properties of the software. Some shouldn't be able to change them, but must be able to see them. And it also means that some places they can change and some not. not that it's a general thing that all settings can be changed by everyone and or all data can be inserted and changed. And these things that you're doing, these data inputs or settings, they need to be somehow part of the production system. And these features all are there in these simple, well-formed technologies. For example, you in Google Sheets, you have all these things, but you can also have extremely good APIs to access everything, to read back everything, and so on. You can easily write custom code there. In the case where you need to move fast and there is a high uncertainty, then it's very often very much needed. And in these spreadsheets, you can even deploy code very easily into the system and keep the code in Git. So you can actually do the proper development and then deploy from Git into Google Sheets. Meaning that you will get all this infrastructure with no development. And that means that you don't waste, you move fast, maybe this whole page of settings or this whole way of inputting data and so on into your production system. Maybe in the beginning, in the end, it's not needed, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it makes it possible to move fast, which is one of the essential things. And precisely about Google Sheets, it's strange that you can even choose where do you host your data if you have compliance or GDPR issues. Again, which is you can just swap it for files, and you can do these things, which is rather powerful. And as I said, these things are this Google Sheets specifically, but every good, mature, simple product that you can utilize. It's usually good for less technical people because they're mass products, and they're specifically Google Sheets is very good for data inputting, for configuration changes, and so on. And Google Sheets is heavily used in Starship and in Pactum, which is probably never said out loud in anywhere, because usually you talk about robots and AI. But there are so many settings, so many ways how data needs move, so many configurations, so many data inputs and everything. And you are using it, we are using it. And this is one reason why these companies are able to be powerful, because they are not afraid to use the most simple technologies. I hope it makes sense, the idea there. There is a problem, of course. There is a problem, and it makes sense. You are programmers, you know. There are some issues with it. That these hacks, these fast-moving, they increase technical depth, is maybe a term that is used. They're dangerous. They might create a spaghetti code of not understanding the dependency and not understanding what's going on. Like, how can you make a powerful company if you have too many of these hacks everywhere? It seems contradictory. And this must be tackled. But there is a way how to tackle it. And this, I guess it's very important. These things must be decoupled from the main systems as quickly as possible. And I'm gonna explain and show steps how I've seen it done both in Starship and Pactum in a very successful way. So it usually starts, you have some settings or some data inputs or some configurations or something that all people need to see, some people must be editing and so on, that influence the system, and you need to continuously change them. You have some kind of like a panel, internal panel for configuring things. One good trick is that you want to decouple it, so that you don't actually use this spreadsheet, but from there, you can do, I'll show you very quickly, you can save it into a JSON file that is living next to it in Google Drive, and then from the main system, you are reading this JSON. And JSON is the most common data object, And now for the main system, it doesn't know absolutely anything about Google Sheets, that it even exists. So the main system can be perfect in that sense, and it's not ruined by this hack of a random technology there. And it comes extremely naturally. What are next steps in there? This JSON editing, you can swap it from Google Sheets, saving into JSON. You can put this into the panel that you, in your internal tool, that you can actually edit the JSON there. And you can use out-of-the-box technologies that actually make a beautiful UI on top of it. For example, this React JSON schema form makes it like this, that you write the schema there, and then you can actually have a full, with the custom themes and everything, full UIs to view it. Both of these steps, first thing takes like half an hour. You have a full configuration page there with all the user rights and histories and all the management. The second step also rather easy and takes measured in hours to transport it later into your main system when needed. And actually this JSON schema stuff was there for the next step. That then you can add the schema there, and then you have a nice editing stuff. And then as a last thing, you will have, if needed later, a proper front-end view where modern software, how you can change settings on your page or add users or like all these configuration systems in every software that you are using. And I hope you as programmers see that there is not a single disruption here. There is not a single kind of rewriting any logic or code. It comes extremely kind of naturally, step by step, without kind of redoing a lot of work. And as I said, I was doing science and I was working in different startups in the world, and then I saw it how professionals were doing it in Starship, and this was how they were doing it. So first I was like, and then I saw it again in Pactum, that this was the best way of doing it. And then I thought, I'm brave enough to say it out now in here to you, that this is a way to go, and it makes sense. So, be fast, move quickly, but pick your battles. Don't make beautiful, difficult software for simple internal configurations and data things if possible. And use simple things such as Google Sheets. And I'm going to show some things as well then. That's what I was talking about. So it comes out of the box, as you know. For example, you can say that this is a parameter A. If you change it to parameter B, the good thing is that lovely thing that by cell you can see full history of every configuration change that happens in every system, who did it when, very useful. Developing this will be about a week, this feature, into your own system. A week, just for one thing. Then, who can edit these things? You can go to data, protect sheets and ranges. You can set permissions exactly what user groups can view, edit, do. Another multiple weeks of development saved. For example, you want to make a simple UI for changing the configurations, adding users, whatever. You do data validation. For example, hello world. Hello world, is it with capital W or with small one? I think capital. Hello world, and let's say digit. Whoa. What's going on? Okay, So now I have a drop-down menus here. I actually did it incorrectly. Anyway, hello world and digit. So I mentioned many other things, like I talked about like making UI, restricting accesses, user groups, histories, cell level, and so on. What's like really amazing in my mind how simple this stuff is to add a code, a random person can do it. And by just adding this, it makes a function. Saving it, I guess I have never done it, run it. So now I can actually use this. Why doesn't it work? Okay. First time, I guess it's slower if I'm using it. So the JavaScript function works there. It comes very naturally. And of course, talking about the parameters and things that are needed. And so hello world, hello item, and like these things then can start changing your system, inserting data there, and for saving some time, I'm gonna now copy something from here. So how I've seen it done in both of these companies is that in end we add. It's quite easy on opening the file. It is adding menu and adding a function and what to do with this function. And it can be also done on close and so on. So you can, for example, in end, whenever something is changed, save a JSON or send the data to your production system after that. And now I need to now restart because it was on open. So if I'm opening it, then I will see. I need to zoom in. So I created this digit scripts here and a function, and you can add these different kind of random things to be done. And as I said, this code file, where the code exists, is actually a separate file. You can have access controls there. You can deploy from Git automatically code into it. So you can still have a version control and development together. So what I've seen people doing is, in matter of hours, making extremely complex system with all the functionality of audit logs and histories and user rights and edits and beautiful. You cannot design everything here and do things extremely quickly for non-important supporting systems in a way that it doesn't ruin your future either, because it's fully decoupled by a JSON and then later moved into the main system. Thank you. So I did it. I'm very proud.